everybody? This is Darnell Roberts, and welcome back with more Southern Lethal Legacy. I've been getting this question about wacky rigging and just really finessing period for a good while, and people are wondering how is I'm catching nice sized bass off the wacky rig. Well, I'm about to show you, so let's watch. Now, I'm gonna show you the setup, which I have two rods that's basically the same setup, but one of them is for weighted, as you can see right there. Give it a little bounce so you can see that old Cinco work. But that's your weight, your weight or wacky. But we're gonna talk about the rod and the reel and the line and your hook, so you can kind of compare to both sides. But really, they're the same reel, kind of the same setup, really. But my rod is a 7.4 medium heavy by Favorite, which you can get online. Go to Favorite USA, and you can get this rod for like $59 to $60, if I'm not mistaken. And they ship pretty good on time. You check it out. But I like this rod, this Whitebird rod, for a reason. It's a 7'4", and the main reason why I have a little bit taller rod is because when it comes down to doing the wacky rig, I know a lot of people say use a 6'6". I can understand if you're using a spinner rod. Yes, you can use a 6'6". When it comes down to using a bait cast, I prefer you to use a 7'4" or 7'6" rod. And the main reason why is because you have so much tip action, and you have a good credibility of some knowledgeable backbone to your rod, and I think that helps you out a lot of hooking bass, and also getting the feel of every little bite and feeling all your debris, feeling the stumps, logs, any of that. You feel it with this rod. But this rod particular, when I'm using a weighted wacky right here, I like to feel everything. But the most important key to me is when I'm wacky rigging is I don't like my arm to do all the work, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. Like, when I mean by doing all the work, when you cast and you let that sink, you let this Cinco kind of sink to the bottom with this weighted wacky. As you let it sink and you bounce it up, if you have a stiff rod, you're gonna feel yourself pulling everything up. In a period of time, that's gonna make your hand cramp up, your biceps kind of be hurting. Yeah, I mean, everything is gonna like be hurting and throbbing. I know, done it and fished all day and just like put my pole down, so I can understand, and I know why your arms is getting tired. So I'm trying to prevent you from getting your arms tired and be able to reel in without your hands cramping up. Get you a lighter rod, a 7'4" or 7'6", and you're able to feel everything. If I just bounce this Cinco one time, if I pull my rod up like that one time, this Cinco is probably going to bounce like 2 or 3 times, because you have so much tip action. And I think that is what's creating and triggering a lot of bites. I know you're probably saying, how's that true? You have to use it to understand, and just go out there to the lake and try it. Even on slow days, I'm still able to pull nice sized bass. But when on slow days, I'm not using a weighted wacky jig. I'm gonna use a weedless, and we're gonna kind of compare that to you in a minute. Now, the reel that I'm using is a American Hero by Luz. It's a 7-to-1 gear ratio. That's letting me pull those bass to the boat just like that. If I'm using a 5-to-3, I'm really not. It's, 5-to-3s are made for just for power, like cranking. Like, what I really love is cranking. So that's a lot of times I'm not going to be using a 5-to-3 on this setup. I want to use something that's, when I get that bite and it triggers, I want to pull it to the boat, be able to grab it, and do whatever you got to do, not just waste the time. So this reel right here is allowing me to pull it to the boat, because sometimes you can throw it in your little spot, you let it sink, you bump it 3 times, you might miss a bite. Well, if you got a 5-to-3, you're not going to have time to just reel in and throw it right back. With this 7-to-1 gear ratio, if I miss that bite, I'm able to reel in fast, throw it right back in the same particular spot that I was at, and bounce it 3 to 4 times, and I'm able to get that bite, and I'm able to pull him to the boat with no time. So I'm not when I'm using this setup, I don't want to waste a lot of time, bringing that bass to the boat. And I think that's a lot of key for me is bringing that bass to the boat real fast and having a lot of backbone with this rod setup. Because when I caught that 7 pound bass, he did not like really just um, he couldn't really do anything because you can kind of see the tip action on this rod. And I'm finna show you. I want you to look at that. Look how much of flexibility that has. And that's what I'm called backbone. And that's what I really, really like when it comes down to using Wacky rig. And that's the main reason how I'm able to bounce it one time and make my bait move 2 to 3 times and just let it sink. That's why I love the weightless Wacky rig with this rod and this Reel setup. Now the line that I'm using, when it comes down to using the line, I like to use fluorocarbon line. I'm using 15 pound test. And the main reason why is because at a period of time when you're fishing, if you're using any weighted Wacky jig, you know if you have a clip or anything right there, at a period of time, your hook's still going to hit a log, a stump, even vegetation, debris. You know, it's still going to hit it. So you need a stronger line to kind of pull it. The main reason why I'm using fluorocarbon line, kind of to help sink it down a little bit quicker. You know, just kind of help it sink down. Now we're going to talk about the weedless, and I think everybody's been waiting on this because a lot of people use a lot of the weedless, and the hooks that I'm using are by VMC, which I really really love. And these are the Wacky weedless hooks. You also have the weedless Neko hooks that I like to use as well when it comes to Wacky rigging too, which you don't have to. You know, there's different brands out there. I'm just giving you a choice of an option to kind of let you know the hooks that I'm using. Now this is, oh, just looking at it, but that is, this is the weedless hook. And what I like about it is this hook is a little bit stronger, it's a little bit heavier and thicker. So even though it's weedless, it still has a little bit of weight to kind of let that bait kind of sink down closer to the bottom, if you understand what I'm saying. But what I like about it is this clip. When you're out there fishing and you're using the weedless, sometimes they just have a little bit of old guard, and that guard like doesn't work so well. You're still able to get hung up in weeds and stuff. Well, this is what I like because you can just set the clamp and you're done. There's no more hanging up in the weeds. There's no more getting hydrilla and stuck. There's no more being on top of the lily pads and being stuck. I know, been there, done it, so I can understand your feeling. Now I'm going to kind of show you um, how I hook this when I'm using weedless. Now there's two different ways. You can start from here, as you can see the little groove in the belly. You can kind of start from there and kind of just straight go up, just like that. And you can hit the clamp. And you can see it's directly in the middle. The butt's right end is right here. And you have your tail end right, kind of your head end, your butt end. And you can see how that's bouncing? That's what I want when I'm using it. Now the other way to hook it up is that, you know, on days that it's real kind of slow, this is the way that I want to hook it up. I want to hook it directly in the middle, straight up, just like this. Just like that. And then I just want to give it a good hit my clip. And there it is. That is my weightless. Now when I come down to weedless stuff, you know, I like to throw it on lily pads, a lot of the vegetation. You know, places like you would use your frog, well, I can use my weedless. On days that is real slow, and the main reason why I use this weedless on the days that's real slow, because with a weighted Wacky, you know, with a weighted jig, you throw it, it's like boom, and it starts sinking immediately. I mean, it just starts sinking as fast as it can. With this, it takes its time to sink. So if you see a bass from the boat and you throw your weighted jig and your bass does not react to the weighted jig, you can reel in real fast, get your weedless, throw it down. So it's gonna come down a little bit slower, and then as you bop it up and you just let it sink, you're able to trigger a bite because now you're moving a little bit slower pace instead of a faster pace. So that's why I have two rig setups. Is because if I want a slow reaction of my bait to just move a little bit slower, I'm going to be using the weedless. If I want a faster, I want to be using the weighted jig. And I think that helps me out on a lot of getting bigger bass to the boat. Like I said, they're the same reel and rod setup, just a different hook. Now, the line on my weightless is not 15, it's 12 pound test because of I want it to go down just a little bit slower, and I'm not trying to rush my bait to get down. So that's the main reason why I have two different line setups and two different hook setups. So that's what's making me get a lot of bass in the boat. Now, like I said, you can get these hooks. I'm pretty sure you probably can get them at Walmart, any of your sporting good. But these are the VMC Wacky Weedless hooks. They also have the Wacky jig hooks. That's what you just seen in there for a little bit of weight. They have different weight sizes. Um, you really just have to get to know in the feel of everything. You have to just go out there, buy your rod and reel setup that fits you. I'm not gonna tell you to exactly use what I use because it might not be comfortable to you, but that's what is comfortable to me, and what's making bigger bass get in the boat, and really what's making it to where my arm is not completely hurting all day from fishing. That's the main thing of fishing. Everybody goes fishing and we be like, man, my arms hurt, I'm tired. You've been there, and I know you done it. You're tired because you've been fishing all day. Well, if you're using my setup, you're not tired, and you just, I mean, you can go home and still be amped up and still talking, holding the conversation. So that's the main reason why I use that setup. But in the meanwhile, thank y'all for watching this, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.